Continuing down our conversation with Margaret Moore. She's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Wellcoaches Corporation. You can find out more on the web at coachmeg.com and wellcoaches.com. You've written a new book. We talked about it. The Organize Your Mind, Organize Your Life. And this is actually a book about the neuroscience of brain organization. Help me. I didn't do well in chemistry.
Well, this is not so complex, actually. It's really, great science is very simple. It simplifies the complexity. So one of the myths that we have all come to believe is that the brain does multitasking well. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that I have learned from this book is that the brain was designed to focus all of its attention, all of its resources on one thing at a time. So imagine bringing your memory, your emotions, your senses, your thinking brain, sort of top down, right, left, bottom up, all of it focused. And so the brain was designed to act, I call it a spotlight, to shine the full beam spotlight on one thing at a time. And what happens when we move it around rapid fire is that we leave a lot of it here and there. And we don't get all of it. And when you use all of it, you think well, you're able to make connections and be creative. And the point of the book is that you get from the forest to the trees to the forest, or from the, feeling as though you can't see your way through things to the big picture. And I know you'll understand what I mean by that as a coach, because that's how it often feels with our clients, that we're really helping them find the big picture. And so that's what this is about, is how to use your focus and move it around when you need to, and then shift it completely and not drag it around and leave half of it, in the past and present and future. So when you use your focus really well, your brain is designed to do well, and then there are multiple steps to get there.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was on my iPad. I'm kidding. This is a huge big deal. Everybody thinks that you're exactly right. Like our culture, everything is organized around multitasking, right? Sure, I can drive and watch my kids and, be on the text or whatever, right? So just that one awareness that our brain's actually designed for focus certainly answers some things for people. Why the best part of my week is my 2 hours at a cafe locally, or the best part of my business trip is actually on the plane, because then I can give myself the freedom to focus. And that's true for our clients too. All my CEO or C-suite executives love that time that they can just be alone for a while to think.
Right.
What's the impact, and what's the sort of extrapolation for our day-to-day lives? Does this mean that our focus, that we can, I'm sorry, I'm so excited, you can hear. So my Tuesday is support calls for all of the different endeavors I have, right? So I'm literally, 17 calls back to back, and each one on a different topic with a different group of people. Wow. This sounds like I'm using my brain in the wrong direction.
Well, no, not necessarily. Our ability to focus on one thing, lasts about 30 to 60 minutes. And so when you can bring all of your focus, at some point your brain gets depleted and you need a change. And the change can be just a new project. It can also be a break. It also can be a walk. It can be putting a load of laundry in, or making yourself a cup of tea. There's lots of, so what you want to do is use your focus beautifully for each of those 17 calls, and then build in the in-between focus periods so that you recharge.
This is so critical for coaches. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and so one of the rules is about what the neuroscientists call set shifting, which doesn't make a lot of sense to us. But the idea is that when you shift your focus, it's kind of like being a basketball player, like both feet off the ground, and you jump and you move that beam of your spotlight onto the next thing, all of it, so that you land somewhere else. It's you're completely out of the last thing, and you don't sit with it, I really need to keep thinking about that last thing because I haven't really figured it out, and oh no. And you have to move completely and confidently. And when you do that, see, the back of the brain knows you have a problem, and it will continue to incubate, and the solutions will come back later. I mean, you probably have found this. You go for a walk or run or yoga class or whatever it is that you do, and things start flooding. All sorts of ideas come out. So it's even when you leave something behind completely, you got to do it knowing that the challenges aren't. You're not abandoning them. You're actually giving them a chance to sort of, bounce around. And I like thinking about what happens when we sleep, because our prefrontal cortex goes to sleep, but the back of the brain doesn't. It comes out to play, and it has, what our dreams are like. I mean, they're wild and wacky. And that just shows you how much creativity you've got in your brain that the prefrontal cortex keeps under control all day long. And if you in your prefrontal cortex, controls your attention. So when you give it a break, your brain doesn't. The rest of your brain comes out to play. So you're still creative and solving things and doing all sorts of things in your brain automatically without you even having to try. So it's beginning to really appreciate how your brain solves problems and recognizing it. It's the focus, and then it's the break from the focus, and then the focus, and then the break. And like the heart, there's a stress and then there's a recovery. There's a heartbeat show that if you stress and recover on an ongoing basis, you can sustain, something for a long time.
This is so great. I'm even reminded of Buckminster Fuller, I think, who said something way back in the day about learning and how it's best to do it in hour-long increments with a break. So you're rocking my world this morning, Coach Meg.
That's cool.
Our time is flying by, and you've got something generous to give a select few of our listeners. What have we got?
Well, I think that a nice gift would be a signed book. What do you think?
Yes, ma'am. I'm chilled. So I'm jumping out of my chair.
How about 5 of them?
Oh, my gosh.
Would that work?
Well, things tell us we've got 20,000 listeners, and 5 of them, that's awesome. That's 5 we're going to have coming back next week, and I'm excited about that.
Well,
that's very
cool
generous
thing.
of you. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Well, my local bookstore in Wellesley and some beautiful people purchased it so that it would not go under in the current world, and because it's such a local treasure. And they're making it possible for me to sign, because I can walk to the bookstore, to sign books, and you can buy them online at the Wellesley bookstore. So that's a nice way to support a local bookstore and get a signed book, and I can personalize it if you like.
Isn't that wonderful? So
I'll send you the link for that.
5 for free, and then anybody who wants a signed copy can go to Wellesley Books. We'll have the link on our page as soon as you and I can work that out. But Wellesley Books,
perfect.
Wellesley Bookstore, I guess, in Wellesley.
It's
Mass.
Actually called Wellesley Books.
Wellesley Books, perfect. Yep. In Wellesley, Mass. And what a wonderful thing! You're doing great work, not only for coaches but for people everywhere. We've got about a minute left in our time together. Do you have a parting shot? Something you'd like a few thousand coaches to think about or know?
Well, there's something I want to share, because do you know Richard Boyatzis at Case Western?
No.
He's an organizational development psychologist who does a lot of research on coaching and intentional leadership and authentic leadership and positive and negative emotions. He shared with me a month ago, I was at Cleveland Clinic doing a grand rounds, that he found that coaches often got stuck in a box around, this is how I coach. And they get really attached to that way of coaching. And I think I would like to suggest, my motto is, if I say something completely different a year from now, that's great.
Right.
If I have a whole new view of it, so my advice today would be get back on the learning curve if you're not on it. And because at the Institute, we're releasing an immense amount of learning tours translating science to practice, and there are 400 research papers. Nobody's read them. And so there's so much to learn if you really reach out to the huge knowledge bases around how people change and the science of change. So that would be my suggestion. And
what a great one it is. It is always a delight to have you here. Thank you for your generosity, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you so much, Christopher, and happy holidays to everyone who's listening.
Wonderful. Well, that's it. Another edition of the Coaching Show is behind us. You're listening to wsRadio.com, the worldwide leader in Internet talk. We will talk to you next week, again, with some of the people on the cutting edge of coaching. Thanks for listening.